Welcome to Create a Flow Live. My name is Elisha Jacobs. Thank you so much for being here. I am super excited that you have joined me for yet another live session. By the title, we are going to be going into Apple Notes and all the things iOS beta version 2 and all the stuff. But before I get into that, welcome to my Substack community. Welcome to my YouTube community. I appreciate each and every one of you here. And before I get into all of it, tonight we're going to do a little something a little bit different. Um, I was more or less in a reflective space today for my CEO day, in that I'm now realizing today is not only the last day of the month, it's actually the last day of the quarter. And tomorrow we're actually entering into quarter three and just going back and reviewing analytics and all the things on the back end. I realized like today is like marks 3 months that I have actively went live every single week for 90 days within the 90-day period. And I just want to celebrate not only those who are watching, but also like celebrate myself for doing this, because 3 months ago I made that commitment to do a live every single week, teaching on different things, whether it's AI tools, whether it's around productivity through the Apple ecosystem. And as tired as I was or am, on days when I didn't feel like showing up, I still pushed through and still went live each week just to teach, and just having that commitment and dedication to just showing up. That in itself is commendable, I must say. But let me know in the chat, what is something that you were able to overcome or achieve, whether it was in the last 90 days, whether it was the last month, in the last week. I want to celebrate you tonight before we get into our session, because it's important for us, especially I'm learning as I'm getting deeper and deeper into um being a tech content creator and really delving into content creation. There's so much work that goes into creating content, not only doing live stream, but also like recording. It's much more than just hitting record on a camera or on your phone and then putting it out onto social media, especially if you're building community, especially if you are building or have that aim of impact. It takes a lot, and I have realized this in like in the last 6 months to be exact. We're almost half of the year out already, and so just being consistent and showing up, and on the days when you don't even feel like showing up, it is a lot. So tonight I just want to celebrate those. If you're working towards a goal, keep going. I know there are days when you're not going to want to show up. I know there are days when you're going to feel like this thing that you're doing, you're not seeing the result of it. But as my grandma always say, Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. But you're just building that foundation. So when that time comes for you to actually reap the harvest, the harvest is going to be bountiful. I'm a gardener, so I can tell you, you plant seeds in the ground and you just do what you need to do. You water it, you ensure no weeds is choking it, and you just watch that plant grow and grow until it actually produces so you can reap a harvest. So it's the same thing with business and content and all the things. I do share all of this inside of another space, inside of my podcast, Creative Flow podcast. And I'll be talking a little about that in tomorrow's episode. But just tonight I just wanted to like realize that today is like the last day of quarter two, the last day of the month. And as we are reflecting and we're looking back and we're seeing what works, what doesn't work, just being able to just celebrate the wins, celebrate even the missteps, the failures, all of that is a part of the journey. All of that is a part of the building blocks of what is to come down the line. So just be encouraged. Do not be discouraged. I don't know who this is for. And I'm not only encouraging you, but I'm also encouraging myself as well in this moment because listen, I am tired as I'm speaking to you right now. It has been a very long day for me. My day started 4 a.m. this morning, literally. So, it has been a very long day for me. And so I just want to encourage you in this moment, just keep going. All right. A lot of times, what I've noticed recently is that as I'm doing and I'm delving more deeper into the Apple ecosystem and how and teaching my communities how they can actually leverage or make their devices become their productivity tools is very deep. And the reason for this is because 90% of the time, most of the day, if we're to really pay attention to the amount of time we spend on our phones or we spend on our computers, we spend a significant amount of time, especially if we are entrepreneurs, especially if we are content creators. We pick up our devices and especially the phones so many times. So, me being a person who's been in tech for over 20 plus years, I have seen the rise and fall of solutions. I've seen the rise and fall of different ecosystems. And I keep saying that nobody can make me hate Apple. And I have worked in Windows environment, being that I manage IT departments and all the things. But what is most important to um when it comes to like productivity and turning your devices that you use every day into your productivity tool or machine that will aid and boost your productivity is so important. And so as I was preparing for tonight's live stream, I'm thinking, okay, we have this particular device in our hands 90% of the time. For me, it fluctuates between the computer, this, or my iPad. If you know me, I love my iPad hands down, right? My iPad is with me all the time, right? But especially if you're a content creator, you use your phone a lot to create content. And so yes, we can make our iPads productivity tools or a productivity machine. Yes, we can do the same for our computers. But when it comes to our iPhones or our cell phones, do we allow it to also become a productivity machine? And so, what I have found, there's so many different systems I have built with my iPhone, specifically within the Apple ecosystem, when it comes to helping me not only to stay focused, because soon as you pick up the phone, when there is a ton of different things on the device, that is your first set of distractions. You either have notifications that will distract you, either that you pick up the phone to do something and then you get distracted in doing something else. And that happens time and time again. I have all the systems and all the automations on the phone, but yet still, that still happens to me. Right. So I get it. It's a distraction element. And learning how to let it work for you and not against you or not distract you is very important, especially as you go into Q3 and we're getting a little more hands on with our work and all these things. So, I have built a few systems that is distraction free. It's native within the Apple ecosystem, and it all starts with Apple Notes, right? It all starts with Apple Notes. And so for a lot of people, they were like, oh, how can we actually use Apple Notes to how can we actually use Apple Notes to capture ideas? Maybe you don't want to go into a third party platform like Notion. People hear Notion, yes, everybody uses Notion. But what you will find is that with Notion, um there is for some people a learning curve. So I always give this advice: start with the free, start what is available to you, learn it, master it, and you can grow with it. When you outgrow those apps, then you can think about other alternatives. Yes, your favorites that you see in the online space may be using different tools, and I always tell clients, listen, not everything works for everybody. Not everything is applicable for every business. Different businesses have different workflows, different processes, and so their solutions definitely will be different. And the same goes for your devices and the apps that you use. So start with free, develop the discipline and the muscle of becoming productive, of having workflows, of streamlining how you actually work on your devices. And then you can actually upgrade to the paid options. Now, within the Apple ecosystem, and now with iOS 26, it used to be, currently in iOS 18, it is three productivity apps, which is Notes, Calendar, and Reminders. And oh, the fourth one is Freeform. Now, with iOS 26, they're now introducing the Journal app. It used to be on the iPhone, but it's going to be available on all the devices across the ecosystem. So now you have five productivity apps. All right. You have five productivity apps. So there in itself, you have five different apps that are totally free to you on any of your devices, and you have no excuse why you can't plan your content. There is no excuse for you to be organized, streamline how you capture information, and even and the beautiful thing is that it's powered by Apple Intelligence. One of the main focus with the new operating systems that Apple has introduced is that they are having a unified ecosystem, but more importantly, they are literally giving you an assistant, which is the Apple Intelligence, so you can boost your productivity. As you've seen in my last live session with the iPad and even Mac OS, you have seen with these different updates how they have literally improved on different workflows with productivity. And so it's no different for the iPhone. And I'm just going to be sharing with Apple Notes how you can get started, and you can take it from there. All right. Welcome, welcome. So we have a few people in the house. Thank you. Welcome. Hello from Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, girl. Hey. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you. All right. So, ooh, Marshall. Okay. All right. So, and welcome to my Substack community as well. All right. So, let's get into our workflows with Apple Notes. All right. So, all right. Let me see. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to switch over. Ooh, ah, wrong one. There we go. All right, so I'm using this screen mirroring option on Mac OS. So it just gives me option to actually log into my iPhone. All right, so when it comes to Apple Notes, the first thing, if you have an iPhone, we know that everything that we think about, everything that we do goes into Apple Notes, right? It goes into Apple Notes. Everything goes into either the All iCloud folder or All the Notes folder. And you can be looking for a specific note and you're scrolling many notes looking for something specific because we dump everything in there. There is no structure. And I was guilty of this, but we're getting it together. All right. So, the first thing I want you to do when it comes to mastering or creating distraction free workflows with Apple Notes is first to have a digital declutter. Productivity and streamlining your workflows actually starts with you doing a cleanse or an audit and then creating a system that is simple for you. It doesn't have to be complicated like what I would use, but something that is simple for you, that is functional, and also a system that will work for you every single day. If you implement a system or if you implement a workflow and you're not using it every day, it doesn't make any sense. All right, it's either too complicated or there are too many steps. And so what you want to do is ensure that you create something that is simple, that is functional, and that fits into what your daily routine is with your devices. And the same thing goes for different apps. All right. It is also applicable to your business as well. All right. And so the first thing I want you to think about is having a digital declutter. This is where you're going to archive anything that does not relate to your business, that does not relate to creating content, that does not relate to your everyday life, especially if you're going to use Apple Notes for live business and content. Archive it. All right. The next thing you want to do is come up with a structure for life, a structure for business, and a structure for content. All right. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. And I'm connecting using my business phone. What I have done throughout the Apple ecosystem, I have created a dedicated um Apple ID for my business. So all the devices that I use on in my business on a daily basis, it's all connected to that one Apple ID. And I also have an Apple ID for personal. The reason why I wanted to separate life and business because one of the things I realized for me is that if I have business and life together, it can become complicated. And I find I'm gonna always be on my business. I'm always gonna be on content. And there is no time when I can actually log off from business. And that's a recipe for burnout. And I have been there. So I needed to have a separation. So I created an Apple ID for my business and I have a separate Apple ID for personal. I do see a question on Substack. I cannot bring it up on my screen. I'm going to work on that. But Ashley asks, which would you prefer, an Android phone or an iPhone? Now, this has been a great debate as we're starting out, but it depends on a few factors. I have used Android and it's been many years since I've used Android, but I have used Android, I have used Apple, and I've been in both ecosystems. First thing I would say, it's based on user preference. There's some people who like the Apple ecosystem, there's some people who like the Android ecosystem. So the first thing is based on preference. I wouldn't suggest which one you should use. For me, I use Apple because of several things. I've been in tech a very long time, and there are a few key things that I like and that I look for when it comes to not only choosing an ecosystem, but also choosing devices, software, and so forth. The first thing is privacy because cybersecurity is a big thing. Being a technical person that I am, and being an IT professional, I value privacy, security, and some other additional fundamental things that I actually look for. Now, I know different ecosystems have different ways that they secure their data, but Apple make sure that they put it out there that they are heavy on privacy and they're heavy on the security. And I kind of like the closed ecosystem. Yes, now they're opening it up for cross cross between Android and Apple, and that is okay. But I value privacy and also I value security as an IT professional. All right. So I know that there are a lot of people out there who have Android systems and they're within the Android ecosystem, but they really do not know how to turn their, whether it's their Samsung Galaxy or whatever phone they're using that has the Apple, sorry, that has the Android ecosystem. You really don't know how to actually like start streamlining that device so that you can become productive. And that's something that I'm definitely going to be helping out with in the coming weeks in regards to helping those who have Android devices. So thank you, Ashley, for bringing that up. I got the Android people. I've been thinking about it. So uh, I got you. All right. So with that being said, let me see. If I go back, I think I timed out my. There we go. Yeah. So, the first thing is that when it comes to your Apple Notes, what would be that system that you can work in every single day? All right. What is that system that you can work every single day? Now, because this is my phone that I mainly use in business and for mainly for content, more or less, I have literally created a system that helps me to capture details, capture ideas very quickly using some of the automation and shortcuts that are available inside of Apple. And also, I have natively like to type, so I have been doing that. But the first thing is to create a folder structure. You need to build a structure that is repeatable, that is simple, and that is functional. So in this case, for example, I have over 208. It used to be more, but sometimes the simplest things we make a note about, and some people have over 1,000 notes. Is it organized? I doubt it. Let's be honest here. Right? But the first thing is taking all of those notes and start to categorize it. What belongs to business? What belongs to personal? What belongs to content? You have three folders right there. All right. Now, if you want to go deeper when it comes to business, you may have subfolders. So those subfolders might be, and again, based on the number of notes you have on the subfolders, what are some of the notes that constantly keeps coming up over and over that you have created? And so from there, you create your categories or create folders for those categories. You do the same for content, you do the same thing for life, right? So, for example, I have a folder here called podcast content, and I have created this in a previous live. But I created this folder structure if I were to actually use my iPhone and Apple Notes to plan my podcast content, this is how I would organize the information from my phone. Now I can capture it from my phone and then I can continue planning it on my iPad and then I can finish it off on my MacBook, all right? So that continuity and that having everything within the one ecosystem makes sense. All right? So when I click or collapse the folder for podcast content, I have literally created a folder system. So, an inbox is where, if I'm anywhere, whether I'm out, out of the house, whether I'm somewhere away from my desk, and I get a idea for a topic for podcast or whatever the case may be, I want to have a system that makes it easy for me to actually capture that idea. And I'm going to show you how I get that done. So it comes into the inbox, and then if I'm scrolling or I'm researching and I come across ideas, I save it in my ideas folder. If I'm doing research on a topic, it goes in here, whether it's links to additional articles or so that I may need to reference and give attribution to. I would put it in there. If I need to script out anything, I have a folder for scripts, captions, transcripts, and the final link to share that particular episode. So this is a repeatable structure that I can use every single week as it relates to my podcast episode. Now, this particular structure, I have recreated it in Notion because I use Notion to plan my content. But when I started out without getting Notion, this is where it started in Apple Notes. So I created this system. So the first thing is actually creating the hub or the command center for my podcast, which is that falls into the line of content. So again, I have on the YouTube channel how I would have set this up. Uh if you want to see how this is set up, you can always reference back to those videos. I will definitely make sure if you're coming back to watch the replay that you can click on the links in the description. All right. So if I want to go to research and I may want to research something on a specific topic, I may have captured this information from my iPad or when I was on my MacBook or wherever, I make sure to put it in here. So I literally created a system inside of Apple Notes. All right. And again, it's repeatable, it's simple for me. And also, I'm able to use this every single week. All right. Now, with when you're creating folders to the top right, if you notice and if you have iOS 18, your plus sign may be to the bottom right. I'm on iOS 26 and I'm previewing the developer beta version 2. So the layout is a little bit different, so your plus sign to create folders might be to the bottom right, if I remember clearly. Let me just double check. Yeah, to the bottom left. This folder is to the bottom left if you're on iOS 18. So with iOS 26, they have really focused on simplifying workflows and how people access different elements in different apps. So you will find a lot of the workflows are a little more streamlined, and that's what I like about it. So if you hit the plus sign, it's going to give you the option to actually create a folder. So I can do a sample folder and I can also create a smart folder. So that smart folder allows me to have filters, whether it's I'm going to include notes that has a tag, that has a creation date, that may have a checklist, that may have additional folders, quick notes, and so forth. So you can use different filters and all the things to create your folders. Now, if I were to create a simple folder, a sample folder, and I may want to create maybe these smaller folders in there, I would simply click on add folder. So in iOS 18, it was a bit different in that you had to create your individual folders and then literally drag the folder onto the main folder, so it will become a subfolder of that folder. Now they have simplified it and they have listened to users. So now you can actually go into that main folder, and with iOS 26, now you're able to just click the three dots to the top right, and you can simply say add another folder. So this could be sample sub 1 as an example, and you can hit on create. All right, so it would actually create a subfolder. If I go back in, notice it's going to show the sample folder, which was the very first folder. We did not have this arrow appearing, but now because we have a subfolder in there, that arrow appears. And when you tap on the down arrow, it would show you that subfolder. So this is a great way for you to start organizing your notes, and it makes it easier for you to actually find your notes. We are not subscribing to chaos on our devices, all right? Now, I know when it comes, if you're a person who has over 1,000 notes that is not organized, it's gonna take you some time to actually get your notes organized. A simple approach to it is this: tackle 10 notes a day if you have the time, and schedule it into your calendar that you are it's an admin task, you're organizing your notes. Sh- and that's how I was able to not only delete some of the unwanted notes and notes that did not that has either passed their time, because I had quite a lot of them. But in order for me to actually sit down and create these folders, I like literally, like, over a period of a week, like, schedule time to actually organize my files. This goes You can make it easier if you're using the same Apple ID on your computer. If you don't want to start it on your phone, you can easily do it on your computer as well, which makes it easier, right? So that is the first thing I want to talk about in terms of having a workflow organization. uh Also, inside of Apple Notes, you will find that they give you what is called tags. And so this is another way of organizing your notes. So if you put within the note hashtag and you put the name, it's going to populate there. So this is another way of um, getting all of your tags. So a few of them I do have, like, let's say for instance, research. If I know I'm doing research, I would put either, like, if it's hashtag podcast, if it's hashtag video, if it's hashtag live stream, whatever it is, I may have main tag categories. If it's a note that is personal, if it relates to business, I would make sure to put in those categories. And so this is another way that is easier for you to actually find your notes. For me personally, and what works for me, again, different options for different persons and how they work daily. I like the folders. It keeps everything simple, but yet still, for some people, they may actually like they would actually like the tags, or if you're that person who can use both of them together, that is a-okay as well. All right. Let me know in the comments. When it comes to your Apple Notes, is it chaotic? Do you have some amount of organization? Or are you like, girl, yeah, I need to get it together? Let me know in the comments. I know there's gonna be a bit of a few minutes lag or delay, but let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on Apple Notes and me showing you like this new way of how you can do organization. Let me know. Oh, Ashley, you are welcome. As she says, thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise. You're most welcome, Ashley. Right? All right. So the next thing, making my iPhone a distraction-free tool. When it comes for me to actually use Apple Notes, I have um set up a few focus modes, and it applies to not only my iPhone, but it applies to the other devices within the ecosystem. And so I have integrated my focus modes with using Apple Notes, and it's based on what I'm doing at the time and how I'm going to use Apple Notes. So if you want to start planning, maybe it's the end of the month or the beginning of the month, and you want to have that deep focus and you want to plan inside of Apple Notes and you don't want to have any distractions, you can create a focus mode and have it tied to that app, to the Notes app. So every time once you open the Apple Notes app, that particular focus mode will be activated. And so let me show you how I was able to do it on my iPhone. Currently where the time is being displayed, uh you're seeing that little symbol there. That means I have a focus mode on. All right, that's that focus mode. And see that icon is telling me that I'm recording. Right. But if I go into settings and I go down to focus, all right, so these are my different focus modes. I have a creator flow mode. So when I'm editing content and all the things, and depending on which apps I'm using to edit, it would actually turn on that focus mode. I have a mindfulness, personal planning, and so on and so forth. Now, if I were to actually tie Apple Notes to the planning mode, this is what I would do. So I would go into the planning mode and I would scroll all the way down. I have my customizable screens for the different modes. But where it has set a schedule, this is where I can tell my phone once I open Apple Notes, turn on this focus mode. All right, so I can hit on add schedule and I can choose the app, right? And I'm gonna type here. Let me go down to N. Right, I select notes. So anytime I'm using notes, this planning mode is going to actually turn on. So this is how you integrate a app with a specific focus mode. For example, too, when I'm doing mindfulness, let's say my mind, sorry, my mindfulness mode usually comes on every day at a specific time, which is at 8 p.m. from Monday to Friday. Um, and on my iPad, I do have it set to where once that focus mode comes on, it actually opens the journal app. Right? So you can set up different apps for different focus modes. This is a great way in which you are literally turning your iPhone into your productivity machine. It is going to eliminate your distractions. Now, when you're setting up your focus modes, please ensure that you turn off your intelligent breakthrough because it's going to use Apple Intelligence and the AI. When once that focus mode is on, it's going to search and prioritize notifications. I turn that off because I don't want to be distracted by any notifications. I don't want to get messages from no one. I don't want any phone calls from anyone. So it's literally going to silence messages, phone calls, and also for me to be laser focused in using my planning app, which is Notes. I want to ensure that once that focus mode is turned on, that I'm seeing the apps that I need to use to plan. Or if I'm creating content or if I'm recording or if I'm in work mode, only the apps that I need to use, those will be appearing on my home screen. So I do have a dedicated home screen for planning, right? And so this is how you would set it up. So if I give you an example, so right now, because I do have on and I'll just bring that up. I do have on my recording. If I were to switch it out to planning mode, this is what comes up on my planning mode. So notice it changes the home screen and so it's only showing the things that I really need to see there. If I were to switch it out to mindfulness, this is what the mindfulness mode actually looks like. All right? So this is different ways in which I'm actually making my device my productivity co-pilot, so to speak. All right? Right, and because I turned that on, it literally notified me on my iPad. All right. Okay. So the next thing is that let me see. Ooh, I have a list of things I want to talk about. Okay. So that is it when it comes to workflow organization with Apple Notes. Also with the integration of your focus modes. When it comes, and this is a bonus for people who use their phones to create content and capture their ideas, I have created a shortcut And this shortcut allows me, it's a automation, but it allows me to capture uh, either a voice or a text using an automated action, and it's going to actually create it as an ID inside of a specific folder inside of Apple Notes. So if I go over into iPhone over here, I have a ton of different actions, but the one I'm looking for is great ideas notes. All right. So I have created this where once I tap on the shortcut, it's going to ask me what is that great idea. I'm going to literally type in that great idea I may have for the podcast. Maybe I'm out gardening, I'm shopping, and a idea comes to me. I want to capture it before I lose it because we have a ton of things to remember and my brain is already taxed. So I need something that actually my captures my ideas very quickly. So I'm telling my phone, okay, when you ask me what is my great idea, I should be able to input that information. Once I input the information, I want you to take that information and put it to the inside of the inbox inside a specific folder. And I know this particular action deals with the podcast. All right. So let me show you it in action. So if I tap on this, it's going to ask me, what is my great idea? So I'm going to say, I want to talk about, I want to talk about the lies hustle culture told us as entrepreneurs. I actually did an episode on this, all right? So that might be an idea. This might be a topic I want to talk about on the podcast. I'm going to tap on done, and then it's going to tell me the idea is stored. Please check your content inbox. It's just a little extra pop up, and I'm going to tap on OK. So there it is in here. So how do I actually track it? I have to go all the way back in. And if I go into podcast content folder in the inbox, that particular note is there. And that is the power of uh, automations on your iPhone. Now, powered by powered by Apple Intelligence, it is much more easier because let me show you this quickly. Let me go back in here. With the use of Apple Intelligence, now it gives you the option to use models, and you can use Apple Intelligence to do certain things. Last week I showed inside of the live last week's live, I showed how I was able to take a transcript and ask Apple Intelligence to summarize it or give me the key points and then create a note for it. So you Apple Intelligence is your co-pilot within the Apple ecosystem, but also you have automations that you can build that can help you to achieve certain tasks instead of you manually doing it. Right? So they with iOS 26 now you'll be able to actually build and use models. And so you can either use their private cloud, you can use the on device, and you can also use the extension of ChatGPT. And they've given you different options. Now, when it comes to the notes, and let me just add something here. They've also included with Apple, they've improved Apple Notes, especially with iOS 26, in that you get a little more fluid with regards to the tools that you need to use to um to edit or to format the note. So if it's from the formatting of the actual text, notice there is a whole toolbar here at the bottom now. So you can swipe and you have more tools. There's now indentations. You can do quotes. You can, it's a little more with the tools. Now, I'm very happy for this. It gives you the option now to link. Thank you. Because some of us use notes very deep. And so now you can highlight a block of text and you can add an actual hyperlink or a link to a specific site. So all of this is just additional things that they have integrated into iOS 26 that is going to help with the daily tasks of power users, and it also boosts productivity, right? The other thing is also you can use the Apple Intelligence within Notes, which is your writing tools. And on the iPad, it's even more cooler because there is Image Playground in there as well. So you can literally do your proofreading, and they constantly keep updating Apple Intelligence. So you can proofread, write. You can let them condense, concise, get a summary. If it's a long note, it can summarize it for you, or you can compose um your text or how you prompt it to use the AI, right? So there are many different small features that iOS 26 comes in with. Yes, the liquid fluid is there, but also um the AI tools and the level up of productivity and making your devices smarter for you to use and for it to be an assistant to your creative work and your business and so forth is very good. So, those are just a few things I wanted to share tonight in terms of iOS. Of course, the liquid is here. I've been through this with the other apps. So the liquid is there, and there. This is beta version, so it is a bit glitchy. It has slowed down a few processes on the phone, but this is expected because they're giving app developers a time to actually create and adapt to this new UI so users can use it now. I know that some users have already been like, oh, they are either for it, the transparency is too much, and they've been listening to feedback, and so they're improving. So by the time the official release is in the fall, you would have a totally different look and more improved tools, right? So at this point, I'm going to open the floor if you have any questions as it relates to Apple Notes, how you can actually use Apple Notes to uh, make your iPhone a productivity machine and also have a distraction free workflow. Please go ahead if you have any productivity question. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to put in your questions before I end the stream tonight. Let me see though. Let me close this off. I have to pull up my Substack community. I really need to work on getting the comments. We really need the comments in our streaming softwares. Right? Any questions as it relates to Apple Notes? Again, just a beginning. If you're starting out with the organization with Apple Notes, start simple and you can build on that simplicity once it's functional and it's something that you're going to use every single day. Build it as simple and effective as you can, and then you work your way up. It doesn't have to be layered with multiple, because I know some users, and I'm calling my friend out in this moment. I think she's on the live. She would have folders within folders within folders within folders within folders. And I understand that's her how her brain works, but not everybody. That will overwhelm some people. So I would say start with one folder, and as you constantly work with your different folders and your organizational workflow, you can create additional folders. And so you're building on that foundation. The main thing is that you start simple, make it functional, make it simple, and then you build on that. right? So if nobody has any more questions, if you're viewing this on the replay, let me know in the comments as well. And also let me know what is some of your biggest productivity struggles and how, like, tell me what is one of the distractions that causes you to either put down the phone or not create at all or not do any work on your phone. I'm interested to know what that is. All right. So thank you so much for tuning into tonight's live stream. It's the end of June. Praise the Lord. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to my Substack community. Thank you to my YouTube community. If this has been helpful to you, do share it out to a fellow creative, a fellow business owner who needs to simplify their Apple Notes. As always, please ensure that your tech works for you and not against you. In advance, God spare life. Happy third quarter. Happy July. We're entering the month of July tomorrow. God spare life. And as always, stay productive and have a blessed remainder of the week. All right. And I'll see you guys back in the next live stream. Okay. All right. So see y'all and good night.